Welcome to the Fighting Irish Faithful Show, Volume 123 of all time, Season 5, Episode 4. I am Joe at Faithful_Irish on the X, and this is a Street Fighter theme song. Not if you can figure out which fighter's theme this is, respect. But we're talking about quarterbacks, and specifically, we're going to put Riley Leonard under the microscope tonight. There's just been some sort of angst I've had and some things I've wanted to research and talk about, look into, fill in whatever description you got. That's probably what I was feeling. So we are going to look at Riley Leonard, but we want to get everyone else's opinion as well about their excitement for him as QB1. At least that's what it looks like it's going to be. Any reservations anyone has about that, or what have you. So come on, let's go. And should Riley Leonard be QB1? That's basically what we're going to title this. Thank you very much. We are still part of Dos Leprechauns Media, and we are proud to be podcasting with them. All right. Well, I don't have my co-host Red Snapper, so we'll just move on with people. I see Lynch Mob there. He's on mute. What's up, Lynch Mob?
What's up?
Yo, welcome to the Fighting Irish Faithful Show, Season 5, Episode 4, actually, even though last week was, well, I guess it felt like Episode 1, but it was very, very stat-heavy last week, and I think I set the bar very high for what people will expect this week. So Wookie's wondering if he's in a video game, but yes, you are, sort of. I don't know. You have 3 lives, Wookie. But yeah, Lynch Mob, what's your thought about QB1 Riley Leonard?
I think we're in a good place. I mean, I don't know that we're in. I'm just optimistic. I think we're in a better place, maybe with Riley than we were with Hartman. And then along the lines of, I think we're way ahead of where we were with Jack Cohn, maybe.
Interesting. Okay. You know, it's funny you mentioned that. Did you look at my notes, my spreadsheet? Did you get a copy of my spreadsheet beforehand?
I did not.
Okay, so it's funny you mentioned that. So I, just like you, now let me back up. Why did you mention Hartman and Cohn?
Transfer quarterbacks. The transfer curse, or I guess not necessarily a curse, but I would rather see us develop our own players. But
okay,
I guess in this day and age, it's what it is.
Well, yeah, and I think true on all accounts there, and that's exactly how I felt, and I think a lot of our fan base feels that way as well. It's like this is now the 3rd lap of taking in a grad transfer from not all of them are ACC. I'll back that up. Cohn came from Wisconsin, but point being, our 3rd lap of taking a transfer quarterback and having him be part of the team, and it's like, well, why have we not developed anyone internally? And there may be multiple reasons for that. I will touch on that briefly. Number one, we all know Brian Kelly could never transfer quarterback, so this is probably the most Brian Kelly bashing we'll do tonight. And so the reason to bring in Jack Cohn, we didn't have anybody really after, Wimbush obviously was not developed. It's kind of disappointing that someone with so much talent was not as accomplished at Notre Dame that he was. Ian Book, probably the most quote-unquote accomplished and developed quarterback under Brian Kelly, arguably. I mean, Deshaun Kaiser was great. There's special places in our heart for Everett Golson, but let's face it, they didn't improve as the years went on, and really Ian Book kind of did, kind of didn't. It's kind of jury's out on that, but it's kind of a moot point. So clearly Kelly didn't set us up with this legacy of good quarterbacks or this string of good quarterbacks. Now, before anyone throws rocks at me and say, well, wait a minute, Kelly just had a Heisman Trophy winner. technically he was developed by ASU, so I don't want to put too much, and you could even argue Denbrock had more of a hand in that, but regardless, now we're going in with a new transfer quarterback, and so I think naturally we're kind of scratching our head a little bit and kind of like doing that one thing like where you kind of squint one eye and you're like, I don't know, and you're like, well, wait a minute, we had Cone, now we have Hartman, now we have Riley Leonard. And we will talk about that a little bit later in the show. But yeah, I think that's a very natural reaction for someone right now entering this 2024 football season.
Yeah, I think so. I think Angeli should have had a little more chance, but I don't know that last year. I think we were just too stuck on Hartman, maybe. But Angeli in the bowl game did exceptionally for what we had to work with.
Yeah, and I'll talk a little bit more about Sam and kind of some of the buzz and excitement of him coming in. I mean, he took advantage of the COVID year. He also had an injury in there. So, he's like Van Wilder if you take into account, his time in college. Not quite Van Wilder, but, he's got the flowing hair and the whole bit. So, but yeah, no, I'm really curious to see, and don't get me wrong. I know it sounds like I'm talking smack or downplaying the positive impact that Riley Leonard can have on this football team. That I do not want to leave that impression. However, as a data-oriented show that we're of course going to let the spreadsheets form our opinion. We're not just going to read stuff and see, fun, highlight reels from Fighting Irish Digital Media of, Riley Leonard making the sign of the cross the wrong way on the, Play Like a Champion Today song. Maybe he's Eastern Orthodox. I don't know. And if that's the case, then okay, fine. But regardless, respect. I don't. There's a lot of unknowns still with him, where I honestly felt that with Hartman and Cone, there was a little more well-known.
Right. I agree.
Yeah. So, hey, Lynch Mob, I'm going to put you on mute here. We're going to go to someone else who I know probably has to work tonight. So we'll go over to this fine gentleman here. And this is going to be the kind of I've kind of thought about doing this, and then I was like, well, maybe it's kind of cheesy. I don't know. But then simultaneously, I'm like, no, as cheesy as this show is, or as cheesy as I can be, I'm a fan of walk-up music, like anything from baseball players or, guys in the NBA or whatever. I'm excited to be able to develop and grow the show in certain ways. So a loyal supporter of the show has requested that he has his own walk-up music here. So, yeah, Wookie, that's a theme for you to accept the thing here, right? Invite the Wookiee to speak. He has his walk-up music here that we're going to roll in with right now. So, now maybe he's just listening. He jumped on the John. I don't know. We'll come back to you, man. You're just listening. All right, you're not coming? Put you on mute. It's fine. Before we go any further, we're gonna. Jay says, "Oh hell yeah!" That means Jay knows what that is. Jay, by all means, jump on if you know what that is. I know Adam Dowling works early. Jay, you guys work early, so we want to try to give some preference to our people. I know it's late. We're nipping on the heels of 10 p.m. Not everyone can sleep in a little bit like I can. So, but hey, Jeff wants to speak, so we'll just bring Strubiak in here. Jeff, what's up, man? Do you have the same walk-up theme as the Wookiee?
Oh, what's the Wookiee's walk-up theme?
Is it still playing, or did I pause it? Hold on, bear with me. Sorry. Oh no, it's still going here. Here it is.
Oh. Love it.
Yeah.
Wookie's a bad dude, man. Wookie is a bad dude.
That's right. Yeah, he's body slamming people, and I don't even remember all the stuff. That takes me back to 8th grade right there. I'll tell you what. Jeff, what should we say about Riley Leonard? Are you excited for him, or should we be skeptical like I am?
I think you have a very good reason to be skeptical because his track record has shown he's injury prone. But I think we have a lot to be optimistic about because he provides something that Mike Denbrock is very familiar with from a schematical standpoint, where I think Steve Angeli is as well, CJ Carr, but I think Riley gives us that extra unique option that is kind of in between Angeli and CJ Carr's skill sets, where I think, what did we say last week that who said that Riley Leonard was going to have 7 rushing touchdowns?
Was it 7? I don't recall the specifics of who said that. I don't think that's in my notes. There's a lot. There's 4, 5, 6 other pages of stuff, but not that one, sadly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's nothing to be said, but I mean, there's not too much to be that's not an unrealistic number for him. If you've watched him throughout his years play, I mean, the kid's a playmaker. I'm excited for him. He had a great.
You said rushing touchdowns, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
He had a great showing at that Manning Passing Academy. So I was pretty excited to see him healthy and him throwing the rock, because everyone's always taken him as the kind of gunslinger / I'm gonna tuck it and run.
Yeah, so. And what's interesting, it's the number you put out there is not far from the truth. Maybe it's actually a little underselling him. And it depends on how many games of the season. But so last year he had 4 rushing touchdowns, and that was in his first 4 games that he accumulated those. Don't go into the specifics there. But his last 2 games after, that's in his first 4 games. Obviously, he played a total of 7, one against Notre Dame, and then FSU, and then Louisville. He left early with an injury. But the point I'm making is he had 4, so he's not far off from being able to eclipse the 7 rushing touchdowns for the season. Now, me personally, I don't know if that's necessarily the strength that he can bring to the new Denbrock offense. I guess what gets me excited, and we'll go about a little bit more of this in details near the end of the show, but since you brought it up about his strengths, I do believe I'm getting vibes of Malik Zaire under Mike Denbrock and his ability to be a dual threat quarterback, which Denbrock has shown that he can embrace.
Yes, and I think that's spot on, because we have the multi-faces of Malik Zaire, but we really got to relish his true talents in that year under Denbrock, where, I mean, he made plays with his legs time after time after time. And then, I mean, I'll never forget, was it him to Miles Boykin? No, that was
Book. That was Book in 2017. But no, I will say this about Malik Zaire. As a starter, undefeated.
Yeah.
Never lost a game as a starter.
Yeah.
Now that's not the case with Riley Leonard. I don't have that in the spreadsheet, but I also know that for a fact because, well, he lost to Notre Dame last year. So, and they were not undefeated in his breakout year, his good year of 2022. They went 9-13, but that was also Elko's first year. So, hey, it is what it is. Well, Jeff, we're going to move on to Adam here real quick. He's on mute, and I know he's got to get up early in the morning. Stay on. I don't want to kick you off, but I genuinely do want to hear Adam's Dowling's opinion about Riley Leonard and what his thoughts are. And no, Adam, I'm not trying to trick you so I can, shoot you down later with spreadsheets. But Adam, if you wish to speak, by all means, please come on mute. I am interested to hear your opinion. Obviously, we've talked about him in the offseason, etc., etc. Please, Adam Dowling, if you can.
What's up, guys? How you guys doing?
Welcome, Adam, to 2024. Well, I guess we've been in 2024 for 8 months, but episode 4 of the Fighting Irish Faithful show.
How's the summer? How's the summer going for you?
The summer is well. I don't know how it is up there in northern Indiana, but central Indiana, the humidity has left, and it feels like California weather. So,
yeah, it's been cool, which is kind of concerning because I've looked at the future weather for College Station. And it's showing like 100 the whole week of the game.
Yeah, that's okay. It's just weather. Deal with it. Just deal with it. Anyway, are you
cool.
going to the game?
Unseasonably cool, really.
Yeah. Now, Adam,
it's like the
No, go
it's
ahead.
like the best weather any football player could ever ask for camp right now up here.
I miss the best weather for me mowing my lawn right now. I mean, it's so nice outside. I mean, it's like, damn it. These are times where I wish I was not an engineer, and I was not working in a, building all day and, all that kind of stuff. I do not get outside, now on the weekends, some days I work from home, like Monday to Friday or whatever, and then I crack the window here in the studio. But that being said, no, the weather's been great. And the cooling off, Adam, do you get kind of more of like a fall kind of football-y vibe? Or like me personally, I'm like, that's reserved for like late September. We should have like, deep oppressing humidity and heat and, heat stroke risk and all that. Like, that's my opinion of fall camp.
I'm a summer guy to where I never complain when it's too hot.
Yeah.
So when I start feeling like these cool mornings, like in early August, I'm like, oh no, that means it's going to be really cold and I hate that. So I can wait for the fall feeling, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Now, are you sure that's your feelings, or is that Mrs. Dowling's feelings rubbing off on you?
No, those are my feelings.
Adam wants to be on his. If Adam could be on his boat every day, every hour, and every minute, he would.
Yeah,
so I peg him as a summer guy.
My perfect day is to like golf at 7 a.m. to 11 and then go on the boat.
Nice. Excellent. So Adam, what's your, I do genuinely want to get your opinion of Riley Leonard. I get a vibe from the shows we did at the end of last season, and in the spring that you were, I don't want to speak for you and say you were convinced he should be QB1, but you seemed very positive and pleased that Riley Leonard was potentially and most likely going to be QB1.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's obviously the most talented of the group, and he brings an aspect that we haven't had at Notre Dame. Earlier about like Malik Zaire, to where it's a run threat which I think we really need now with the offensive line issues with Jagasaw going down. Having that threat to run will hold up defensive ends from rushing upfield. So, just his God-given talent and ability and being 6'4", 215 pounds, guy that can outrun corners and safeties and still throw the ball is something we haven't had. So, yeah, I'm happy he's there. I mean, he's probably the most, with the God-given ability, talent, the best we've had in a long time.
I agree with that. No, so you're going with his build, his size, his height, his weight, the presence he brings. Do you know his 40 time? Because I personally don't, but I mean, we can watch film and look at the Notre Dame Duke game or whatever and watch his speed, right?
I mean, I've heard from stuff from camp that he's outrunning our safeties and corners to the edge. So, I mean,
where did this speed come from? I guess other than Jesus.
I mean, if you watched, remember the Clemson game when he played early in the last year when he was out running people too? He basically won that game by himself.
Yeah, that's
It was-
debatable. But I mean, what the Clemson game where he had let's see, he had one rushing touchdown in that game, and then did he have any passing touchdowns? Negative, Ghost Rider. He just had the one rushing touchdown. He was one touchdown for 98 yards on 8 attempts. But he did account for 33% of Duke's touchdowns.
And then you got to go back to how many first downs he keeps alive with his legs and stuff like that. So sometimes his stats can be a little bit misleading, I think. And I was kind of preparing myself for this because I know you're going to throw them at me. His completion percentage probably isn't great.
Yeah, I mean, but how often have I been, well, hold on a second. How often have I been like the, waving palm branches at completion percentage? I haven't.
A little bit, but his legs...
A little bit, but he's actually not too far off the mark from the metric that that I always like to use, but
but his legs are different. So it kind of, if you're Sam Hartman, you don't move very much. Completion percentage is a big deal. You got to put the ball on time, on the mark, move the sticks. But this guy can move the sticks with his feet too. So it's a little bit different.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and that's something that is not in my spreadsheets is third down conversion, or, kind of that impactful athlete go-to moxie that ensures that the team can keep the chains moving, keep the drive moving, conversion on third down kind of stuff. That stuff's a little harder to do, unless you break down film or you go play by play of, the stat sheet that's published online. Then if that's the case, then, sure, fine. But yeah, no, I don't doubt for a second that his biggest advantage and skill set is his dual threat ability, specifically on the ground. Now I have a rebuttal for that, which we'll get to later. But I do agree with you that he is a presence. He is an athlete. And I also, let me say this, because this is kind of like an echo of my brother at Red Snapper, who's not on. I'm not sure why. Everyone, by all means, go on X here and DM Red Snapper and be like, where the hell are you? There's a show and you're not around. What I will say this about Riley Leonard is he does have the ability to move the ball. And, I don't object to Marcus Freeman taking someone with that skill set and inserting him into the quarterback room. I would rather have more options available to us where we're like, well, we got this guy, or we have this guy, or we have this new freshman, or we have, and then put yourselves in a situation where like, well, wait a minute, maybe all this, Scrooge McDuck riches that we're swimming in here in the money bin, maybe that's, discouraging recruits like Deuce Knight from coming in, and I've seen those arguments, and I know you guys and gals have as well. And those are all very valid. I'm just saying maybe it's better to have an abundance of riches that you have to just put together the best thing you have rather than piece together what is left over, if that makes sense. So, oh, go ahead, Adam.
I think it's over after this year. I think it's...
I hope so.
That's over.
I don't know if I could deal with a fourth transfer.
Yeah. So I think that this was... And we kind of all talked about this back last September when Notre Dame was playing Duke.
I guess if Cade Klubnik is like, I'm going to get a grad degree at Notre Dame, like, okay, well, maybe you can come on. I don't know.
Now, if you can remember recruiting back then, he actually wanted to be at Notre Dame, but Tommy Rees did not want him at Klubnik.
Thank God he doesn't coach here anymore. But
Yeah.
what's he doing now? Does
But-
anybody know? I don't even know what Reese is doing. Not that I really
He's
care.
the tight ends coach.
He's a tight ends
at,
coach for the Browns.
Yeah, for the Browns. Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
that's a career that's going to flourish over there in Cleveland.
Yeah.
Is anyone here from
But-
Cleveland?
I think it's done after this year. After Leonard, it's we have some. But even if Deuce Knight drops out, you still have Minchie, you still have Carr,
Yep,
and then you still have
Minchie,
Grubbs.
Carr.
coming
And
So
Jelly, I
it's
think,
just-
still has another year of eligibility, so he'll
Yeah.
probably stick around. Why
in.
not?
Probably. Let's see transfers. Who knows?
Why
That's
would he
that's the only thing
transfer?
that's
Where's he going to
He's
go?
taken- I think
Fucking
Steve
Yale
Angeli-
or Villanova? No.
Rutgers or I don't
Why?
know.
So you can get pounded in the Big Ten? No.
So he could play. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, look,
You know what? Angeli might turn into like the next like freaking like Mark Sanchez or something and not play at all in college or literally play very limited and end up on an NFL team because he just provides a lot and he just hasn't had the fair end of the stick. I mean, let's be real. We brought in two. I would call them chip quarterbacks. One was very underwhelming in Sam Hartman, but I mean the poor kid just has never really gotten a shot, and when he did get a shot, he performed. So,
Yes.
Don't you guys find it weird though
we
that
will talk about that for sure. The
that
Angeli
last year,
wild card.
like last year, everyone was so stoked about Sam Hartman because
Oh,
the numbers
God.
put at Wake Forest.
I
And then
was
this
a bad
year-
boy.
I was too.
Yeah,
And
we-
then
talk
this
about
year,
that.
this year, it's almost like nobody's talking about Riley Leonard. But if you actually look at the two quarterbacks, Riley Leonard has way bigger upside when it comes to any pro scout that looked at either of them. They would be like, "I'll pick Riley Leonard in a minute over Sam Hartman."
In a.
But
Are you sure?
yeah,
Why?
100%.
Why?
6'4", over 6 foot, 190 over 220. A guy that can run probably a 4.6, 4.5, a bigger arm, all that.
Yeah, but what's he doing on the field?
Yeah, but
Is he putting up touchdowns?
he played. This is where I was going to get at you, Joe.
I mean, I could
We're gonna
go
get over
find
here.
a 6'4" guy on
Ugh.
some rugby team for the New Zealand All Blacks.
Oh, boy.
Who checks all those marks? That doesn't mean he's a good quarterback in the NFL.
Well, guess what? Who is Duke's number one receiver when Riley Leonard was there? It was the guy he beat out for quarterback. He had nobody.
Yeah.
That's
and-
who
That
it
sounds like
was.
Notre Dame
It's true. It's 100%. It's true.
That sounds like Notre Dame's receiving core in the past 30 years.
So,
Yeah.
and Riley Leonard barely played quarterback in high school. He was a basketball player. So
I did know
he's
that.
like, yes.
He's a
So-
freak, guys.
He's the potential is off the roof. That's what I'm saying. Like,
If you wanted to
pro
go to
scout-
basketball school, he should have gone to Gonzaga. That's all. I'm saying.
but the potential, what my argument was, a pro scout's going to look at the athletic ability, the arm strength, the size. The upside is much higher than Sam Hartman,
Hey,
but Hartman
Adam.
put up amazing numbers.
Adam, are you a Bears fan?
Yep.
How tall is
Yep.
Caleb Williams?
6'1", and he looked like a midget next to
And he is a midget.
Allen.
Yeah. Okay.
He
So
looked like
I'm-
a midget. Did you see
I'm
that picture
fracturing
next
your
to him?
argument here as we speak here. All right, but maybe the Bears are just dumb and they just pick quarterbacks that are gonna suck. Like
I'm so conflicted
no
now.
no
I'm so
disrespect to
conflicted.
the Bears, but I do not like Caleb Williams. Someone asked me at work about this, and my response, unwavering, unhesitating, was I think he's a terrible human being. And that was my response. I was just like, I don't think he's going to be good for the Bears, and that's it. Anyway, we don't need to give any more attention to that fool. Actually, we will mention that a little bit later. All right, Adam, we're going to put you on pause here. Let's go to Wookie because I'm sure he's actually working right now, but he's going to squeeze in some time here. Adam, by all means, stay on. Wookie, I see you're on mute here. We'll roll in here finally with your theme. Here we go.
Fuck Michigan. What's up, y'all?
What's up, Wookie? Welcome to the Fighting Irish Faithful show in season 4. Happy you are part of us.
Yes, definitely glad to be here. How we doing, y'all?
We're doing great, and I'm very thrilled that we are using a walk-up theme, music, whatever, with you. Some of our other regulars, we need to give them a walk-up theme, walk-up music here.
Well, you know this is about to be a special year.
Okay.
I mean, it's my first time being back in South Bend in 14 years, and I'm going October 12th to Stanford.
That's right. Exactly.
So, it's on, baby. Let's go.
It's on. I'm happy you're coming up. You know, this is a good opportunity to get a diagonal slice of all of our friends from X, from this podcast, from our friends' podcast, 5 Foot Nothing Pod, whatever. Dos Leprechauns, get everybody who is loyal to Notre Dame together, regardless of creed, race, age, fill in the blank, all those things. And we're here to support Notre Dame and hang out with our friends, drink some beers, party in the North Lot, and go to a game. So it's I'm happy you're coming up. It's fantastic. And floor is yours, sir.
We're all talking about the quarterbacks and everything.
That is tonight's focus.
You know me. I just want the quarterback to grip it, rip it, throw it all the way down the line, bomb diggity bomb all day. Let's see what he's got. Come on.
Nice. Yeah, no, and that's exactly what we want. We want a quarterback to be a presence, to be a formidable foe. We thought at one point that Hartman may be that guy. Obviously, it kind of
he fell off.
It did fall off, and I think that was. I think the Louisville game was the one that really shook people's confidence. Yep. Quite frankly, I don't want to bring up those stats. I have them here,
don't.
But
Don't.
But no, I want someone that has a completion percentage closer to 2/3. I want someone that's going to throw 230 yards a game. I want someone who will average over 2 touchdowns passing in the air per game. I want a touchdown to interception ratio of 6.4.
Yeah, exactly. I want somebody to just fucking throw the ball and make completions. I know you guys
Put that on the shirt. Fucking throw the ball and make completions. I'm writing that down.
I know you guys are all about
we need to run
the damn ball.
I'm acquiring Wookiee quotes.
I got like 3 T-shirts coming.
Grip it and rip it, Wookie.
Grip it and
rip it, baby.
That's not my favorite though, Wookie. What's my favorite quote by you?
Take this ship by storm, baby. We're gonna win the ship
by storm. Take ship by storm. That one is my favorite quote of yours. So
yes, we're gonna win a championship, baby.
What'd you say? Fucking throw passes and what?
Fucking throw bombs and make completions. Let's go.
I love it.
It's time. Fuck running the ball. No.
Bomb
diggity bomb.
Boo,
bomb diggity
boo.
bomb. No. Fast and furious.
Denbrock has shown that he will not do that. Denbrock, we talked about this a little bit last week. Historically, he's a 54% run percentage. I wish it was higher. I wish it was closer to that 55, 60%. Now I have to look this up. It's buried in the spreadsheet here. Too far.
Line 243.
It's actually column BK, row 4. Run percentage of national champions over the last 10 years is 56.4%. Denbrock is closer to 54%. So However, he's within the 10-year average standard deviation, but usually the teams that are less than that 56%, we're talking 2020 Alabama, 2019
Boom.
LSU, 2018 Clemson, 2016 Clemson. These are people who have transcendent quarterback play. And I'm not saying that Riley Leonard cannot be transcendent, but look, everything Adam Dowling was talking about, a lot of it had to do with on the ground. Now he's talking about some of his size, his build, his physical attributes. He sounds like a boxer here. Yes, Johnny, I see you. We'll get to you in a second. but my point is, like, he's not a model. He needs to, like, and I do not want to quote Mark May, but I feel like I'm doing it every single show now. Look, as an evidence-based show that we are, which I am, I'm an engineer, whatever, sue me. I live in Excel. That's my brain.
Same.
Yeah, exactly. I want to have a formed opinion about the football team I love. And I was so pissed back in the day when Notre Dame was not doing well. And I'm like, why the fuck are we not doing well? And I'm
why
like,
do we suck? Yeah.
It's not so much why we suck, but I mean, that was 2016 4-8, which was clearly an inflection point for probably many of us.
Yeah.
But I took it seriously, and I was just like, I am so fucking pissed. And I was reading more stuff and doing more things and looking at stuff. I didn't have kids at the time, so I could spend more time, drinking scotch and getting into my psycho space here in the spreadsheets, which, by the way, this spreadsheet is out of control. I don't even know how many tabs are on here. I need to seriously, like, to prevent this file from crashing, I need to, like, archive. I need to create a separate file that archives the old stuff and just has the, quote, active stuff. But anyway, now I'm just talking too much,
Copy it onto an external hard drive. There you go.
I do have that. That's for everything on the PC here. But no, it's not so much that. It's like it's become a situation where it's like I'm sorting through tabs in Excel to find what I need, and it's like, look, I should have the RTDB tab. I should have the Stats of Champions tab. I should have Notre Dame Stats tab. I should have Notre Dame Scores tab. Our production from last year, the quarterback tab. We made a Riley Leonard tab tonight, and et cetera, et cetera. So and then of course we'll have our head-to-head things from last year and this year. Kind of the usual stuff we roll out. But my point is this: the spreadsheets is getting off the hook. There's a lot of old stuff in here, which I'm not going to delete. Why the fuck would you do that? I'm a pack rat. I'm a pack rat when it comes to spreadsheet tabs. Put that on a t-shirt. No, don't put that on a t-shirt. No one's gonna buy that.
You look at Fighting Irish Fate. You look at Joe's OneDrive, and it's all spreadsheets.
you know that, like, what is it? It's like a banker visor, like the green clear visor. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like that would be me if we didn't have Excel. I would be like leaning over some like bench with a like one of those green banker's lamps, which I own, by the way. and that would be me, but doing this on paper and recording this, not on live on X.
Did you just say paper?
Oh, I do have an actual notebook, which my sister-in-law got me for Christmas a few years ago. It actually it's leather bound, and it's got the Notre Dame monogram on it. It's really great.
Well, that's awesome.
I'd say we're about 60% of the way through it. So, all right, Wookie, before we got a ton of stuff we have not gotten to yet. We got a ton of people. We got Johnny Boxing ready to go. Any last thoughts here? I'm not kicking you off, but I want to make sure you get your piece in before we move on, or we could just play your intro, outro the whole time, whatever you want.
You know what? Play my outro again. It's going to be the same as my intro. Grip it and rip it, baby. Let's go.
Nice. And I unfortunately closed the tab, so I'm not going to be able to bring it up. So my bad.
Boo! You failed that tab.
No, I know. It's fine. I thought we were done. My bad. Wookie, thank you so much for being part of the Fighting Irish Faithful Show. I really appreciate your loyal support and your support of Dos Leprechauns. And we're excited to meet you finally in October with a bunch of other people who are on tonight. Thank you, Wookie, and go Irish. Johnny W. Boxing. Oh, actually, it's, you've changed your Twitter handle. Excuse me, X handle at Johnny Wilds 50354. That's a lot of numbers. Has speaker. What's up, Johnny? You out there live on the West Coast? You're on mute, my friend. Pink button, lower left hand corner. Hello.
I can hear you, Joe.
You had the mute on, like you wanted to speak. Johnny, welcome to the show. What are your thoughts of quarterback for Notre Dame this season?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on. It's been too long, and it's a pleasure to speak with you and the rest of the group. Looking forward to October. I cannot wait. Might be living in Granger by that point, but we'll see.
Hell yeah, brother.
I don't really have an opinion on quarterback, but I wanted to ask you, first of all, what are your thoughts of pivot tables to start extrapolating that data? And then second question is could you run a quick grid on the last 5 national champions, quarterback completion percentage, yards, etc.?
Yes, I can do that if you keep talking. It's not pivot table-esque. Why is this like this? That's weird. I must have had this reorganized. All right, so the last 5 national champions are JJ McCarthy. Let's see, Stenson Bennett, which is odd, and then Stenson Bennett again. Good Lord. Mac Jones. Miserable. Mac Jones is a really high watermark. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, Joe Burrow. So the last 5 years is technically 4 quarterbacks. Do you want to go 5 men or 5 years? Because that's not necessarily the same thing.
5 years.
5 years. All right, so let's see here. We've got a percentage of 72%, 68, 64. Mac Jones, Mac Jones was really high, 77, and Joe Burrow was 76. So the average of that sucker is 71% completion percentage.
Okay, and then really, on our roster, it seems extremely high. Maybe there's an outlier with Mac, but I'm just trying to figure out what we can mirror, and I don't have the answer to that, and I won't pretend to.
Yeah, I wish Excel gave me a standard deviation at the time. Now, grant that would be less than 30 samples, obviously, so it's not a statistical population. But for all the math people out there, they're just shaking their heads like, yes, you're speaking truth. But no, you're 100% right. And the percentage I roll with is kind of a more historical over the years. I probably should limit it to the last 10 national championship teams. I have not refined that particular tab with that information like I do with the normal stats. So we'll make a note here to refine Natty QB numbers last 10 years.
Yeah, I think that's fair, just to kind of like compare, and then we can see kind of what we should be shooting for. Who that answer is, can't give any value there. It's good to be on. I'm looking forward to the October event. It'll be fun. So I'll go on mute and listen to the rest. And then I may have to log off here quickly, but we'll go from there.
No worries. Johnny, I really appreciate you jumping on, man. Really excited to seeing you and actually meeting you face to face, like the Wookiee, like even Dos Leprechauns, like Adam here who's on, Coach Parsegian. I've met Adam Dowling, Justin Roush, Mike Sloan, tons of people who are loyal to the show, friends of ours on X here, formerly known as Twitter. Very happy we're getting a bunch of people together for the Stanford game. It is a weekly discussion at some point with myself and the doc. Friends of ours who live local, who are huge Notre Dame fans. They've got little kids too, so we hang out with them. I cannot describe the joy and the excitement in my heart to go to Notre Dame Stadium and to meet with our friends people that I value their input, their time, and quite frankly, their support of my endeavor here. You know, this is season 5 of what I'm doing. I remember my first season doing this show, and it was all scratchy. The desk was not nearly in the state it was now. The studio. We got 2 monitors now. We got a mixer. We got a legit, microphone, this, that, and the other, and a partridge in a pear tree. Now we're still drinking scotch. We have always been scotch and spreadsheets, and tonight we have a monkey shoulder, which is fabulous. Which sucks because last week we had this great show, and I never mentioned what we were drinking. We were drinking DeWars last week, so okay, it's nothing crazy fancy, but hey, that's what we had, and we usually talk about that, but we didn't last week. Weird. That being said, Stanford's going to be awesome, and really excited to meet our friends and see everybody. Okay,
Yep,
so
can't wait. I'm excited.
I'm excited, Johnny, as well. Thank you so very much, and go Irish. The Aggies. We won't go too much at all, quite frankly, into the Aggies, other than potentially the comments about how Mike Elko developed Riley Leonard. Or did Riley Leonard develop Mike Elko to be great in his first year? Interesting. Ponder on that one. Chew on that one. We'll find out as he does well. I mean, it was clearly the case with Jimbo Fisher. Jimbo Fisher was made by Jameis Winston. He goes to Texas A&M, where you, quite frankly, give him more resources and a hell of a better recruiting pool, and he does nothing with it. Now, Grant is in the SEC, so I won't take that away from him. But that being said, I'm like, this dude's smoke and mirrors, and he probably should have been fired, a year before he was. Now, Elko's there. Elko's the new coach. We will have tons to talk about with Texas A&M. I was doing a little bit of recruiting research with Texas A&M and trying to figure out stuff. If anyone saw, and let me be very clear here about something, okay? If people are on X and they see me what appears to be throwing rocks at John at Always Irish, let me be very clear here. I respect him very much. What he does is phenomenal. Now, we may have differing opinions about the content that we put out and when we put our content out, but he has his place and I have my place. And I'm perfectly fine to agree to disagree. But I do not throw rocks at him personally. If anything, they're kind of more like short, underhanded shovel passes. Okay? I'm still throwing a small stone at him, but it's more in jest. It's nothing personal, But anyway, he had some comment about, having anxiety or being anxious about the Texas A&M game. And I can see his opinion. It's a big-time opponent, SEC school, night game. Notre Dame tends to historically not do well. Oh, wait, that's Brian Kelly, who has not done well historically. And they have good players. They have great players over at Texas A&M. Now, I have not done the breakdown. We will do that in 2 weeks, breaking down the players from their number 1 recruiting class and this plethora of 5-star players they got. How many of them are still there? How many of them actually have snaps under their belt? Who this, that, the other? I don't know. But I can't ignore it that that's the case. And I also can't ignore the fact that some people may be anxious over that, and that's fine. This is year 3 of Marcus Freeman, and we should be a little, I don't want to say antsy, but we should be expecting something different. The time is now. The time is now for something different. So if anyone sees something on X, not that anyone's ever thrown anything my way, but if you see something, it's nothing personal. It's just, just fun social media banter. It's nothing personal. If anyone takes it personal, you know what? Grow some thicker fucking skin, okay? And, can you actually eat hot peppers and drink scotch? Whatever, okay? That's fine, okay? At least I actually eat seafood, all right? John at Always Irish doesn't, all right? People who know what I'm talking about are laughing right now. Okay, let's move on. let's actually talk about Riley Leonard. That's kind of the focus of the show. I can't believe we're in this far tonight. Gosh, she's 50 minutes. Man, I got to burn here. We will keep this under 2 hours. Okay. What gives me anxiety with Riley Leonard? Nolan's laughing his ass off. Appreciate it, buddy. Here's the deal. Is Riley Leonard injury prone? And he's just going to be there for a little bit and pave the whatever for Angeli or Carr or somebody else to come in. I don't know. And I hope not. I never want one of our quarterbacks to be injured. I really don't ever want anyone to be injured. Maybe Caleb Williams. But quite frankly, most times, no, I don't want someone to physically be hurt. However, Riley Leonard obviously had a really good season in 2022. Go check out the stats. It's the one that jumps off the page. It's not hard to do. And then, Duke is undefeated. They beat Clemson last year. They play a total of 4 games, and they play Notre Dame. And then in the last series that Riley Leonard played in that game after we had taken the lead, Duke's attempting a comeback, and Howard Cross rolls up on his leg, giving him an injury. Okay, and he was in noticeable pain when that happened. It did not look good the way it happened. It was awkward, that. Not quite Joe Theismann awkward, but it was still pretty bad. That being said, he sits out for a week. And he comes back, plays 2 more games against Florida State and Louisville. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. And he doesn't play the rest of the season, including the bowl game against Troy, where our former offensive coordinator is now the head coach. Random stat. People wanted that. And then, he transfers to Notre Dame, and then, oh, shit, it's March, and, he's got some ankle fracture, and we have to repair the plate that's in his leg, or his foot, whatever. Look, I'm reading the tea leaves here, all right? This is 2 injuries, 3 injuries, the same injury, just regurgitated. It's not exactly that, but I think if anyone is reticent about Riley Leonard because of the injury thing, and that it's very difficult to come back from that, I think those feelings are warranted, justified, and supported historically. I guess if he has some robo knee brace, that's a different story, but that's not exactly what has happened. Ankle injuries are tough. They take a lot of weight on the foot. There's a lot of flexibility you have to have. The knee is meant to bend in one direction across one axis. Your ankle is not. Your ankle is meant to move side to side, forward to back, up and down a little bit, right? There's a lot more going on in the ankle. So if you have an ankle injury, it's significantly harder to come back. Now, Adam Dowling has just told us that Riley Leonard is strong and he looks good to NFL scouts, and I 100% believe him. But my point is, if he's not performing on the football field or he's physically hurt, I don't want him to play. I want the guy that's going to give us the best things. So if anyone has concerns about his injury history and how that may impact 2024, well, I'm not going to say you're smoking dope. I think you've got a legit opinion if that's what you say. At least that's my feelings. I think a lot of people feel that way as well. I'm just going to go on a limb. No one's giving me a thumbs up, but that's fine. Maybe it's just crickets. But that is a concern, and that's something that will be in the back of my mind, and I think in the mind of the Fighting Irish Faithful fan base when they enter this season, and they're kind of like doing one of those things where they're like, please don't get hurt. We believe that you have a ton of upside, Riley Leonard, and quite frankly, so does Sydney Sweeney as well. So, is that a real thing? I mean, respect if it is, but I don't know. She's from the same town as the doc. I will say that. So, All right. So why is Riley Leonard popular? Why did we even give him a look? If he got injured in a game against us and he sat out basically half the season. So 2022 is Riley Leonard's breakout year. His really only impressive year. Can I say that? Total of 13 games. He played a full season. His freshman year, only played 7 games. He threw for 381 yards his freshman year, but 2,967 total yards in his sophomore year. That's kind of cool. Okay. Some of the things that jump off the page here, 63% completion percentage. That's pretty good. 30 attempts per game. Wow, that's really high. He averaged 228 yards in 2022. He threw for 20 touchdowns. Not too bad. Does anyone know how many passing touchdowns Sam Hartman threw? Crickets. Sam Hartman last year for Notre Dame threw 24 passing touchdowns. Riley Leonard in 2022 threw 20. Now here's the fun part of that. Do you guys know how many rushing touchdowns Riley Leonard had in 2022? 13. This dude is proving that he's a dual threat quarterback. 33 total touchdowns. It's pretty good, pretty impressive, and I'm not pissed about that at all. Now, is that national championship level? We'll come back to that. But there's some good stuff here. 13 rushing touchdowns, a touchdown to interception ratio of 3.3. Nothing crazy sexy. It's about half of what natties do. Natties are 6.4. But pretty respectable. And it's better than what Sam Hartman was at Wake Forest. So, not too bad. So if he can be at that level or better, I'm not too shabby. I'm not too unhappy. Especially as, I think that we don't have proven receivers. I mean, I guess we've got Greathouse and Faison and some of these other guys, but like we don't have, a Marvin Harrison kind of guy right now. We don't have a Chase Claypool, Golden Tate, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful to our receivers. That is far from the case. I think there's opportunity for one of these guys to break out and be great. Can Riley Leonard deliver the ball? Hey, if he throws the ball, 63% of the time on completion percentage, that's pretty good. It's not 67%, which is what national champions tend to do, but hey, whatever. So there's a lot of good stuff to take from 2022 that Riley Leonard has given us, that we've kind of like taken the drug. We've taken the oh, look at this. You circle it in red pen here and you're like, yeah, check this out. Yeah, that's something to be excited about, but that was not last year. Okay. Which leads to something that I have been thinking about all season, and we finally got around to doing this analysis today. Riley Leonard has lots of momentum, okay? He ends up taking Duke to a pretty decent 9-13 record in 2022, and that's Elko's first year, all right? To go 9-4 in your first year. Wait, that sounds familiar. Isn't that what Marcus Freeman did in his first year? Hey, my point is this. I wanted to know, how did Riley Leonard do in 2022? That momentum he had as a good quarterback. Did he carry that into the beginning of 2023? Where, let me remind you, Duke was undefeated the week they played Notre Dame. Notre Dame's on the road. We go down to Duke. They had already knocked off Clemson in week 1. Grant, Clemson kind of shot themselves in the foot. But I don't want to take it away from Duke. We'll just, Duke won. We'll give that credit to Riley Leonard. So you have 2022 momentum, an undefeated record before playing Notre Dame. Then the Notre Dame game happens where he gets injured, sits out for a week, and then plays 2 more games last year, what did those last 2 games look like post-injury? And then he's done. So it's a lot I took at you, so we're kind of going to take you on a story. We'll give you the averages here, all right? Clearly, Duke's undefeated. Riley Leonard was averaging 24.8 attempts per game prior to playing Notre Dame in those 4 undefeated teams. That was Clemson, Lafayette, Northwestern, and UConn. Now, Northwestern isn't... UConn, forget about it. Lafayette, that's not near Purdue. It's probably Louisiana or something. And then Clemson, everyone knows Clemson. Okay, so really Clemson's the only really, like, quote, good one. 24.8 attempts, 16.8 completions on average. So he was averaging a 73% completion percentage in those first 4 games. But only 194 yards. Less than 200. So he's dropped off from what he was averaging the previous year, 228. Yards per completion, 11.8 versus 11.9. Okay, he's on pace there, no problem. Averaging only 0.5 passing touchdowns per game. That's one that concerns me. Okay. Because national champions throw a lot more passes per game than that. It's like closer to 3. Okay. But he had 0 passing touchdowns in Clemson. Only 1 against Lafayette, a team I've never heard of. 0 against Northwestern, a team that is not good. And only 1 against UConn, another team that is not good. So in 3 teams that are not good, he has 2 passing touchdowns. Okay. Attempts per touchdown. He threw 0 in 2 games, so we don't count that. But he's averaging between Lafayette and UConn. 23 passing attempts for every passing touchdown. Sorry, Adam Dowling. This is the things that I can't agree with you on. Now, 0 interceptions. That's fabulous, right? Hey, he's taking care of the ball. He's taking a page out of the J.J. McCarthy playbook. Okay, fair enough. And by the way, I appreciate all these people that are listening tonight. What is this? 12 plus 3, what was that? 15? All 15 of you. Hey, if anyone wants to speak, by all means, just, hit the button and I'll let you on. Here, I keep looking down at the phone, but no one wants to talk. That's fine. Y'all are just listening to the stats. That's fine. But I don't want to just monologue the whole time. I appreciate the interaction. Now, rushing touchdowns. He is averaging 7.3 attempts over those first 4 games last year. I don't have attempts per game, which is disappointing here, so I'm not prepared. But yeah, no, he's averaging 59 yards a game. Okay. Yards per carry, 7.6. That's actually better than what it was in 2022, so he's kind of coming out as a runner, I guess. But even then, if running is his major skill set, his major contribution, you know how many he's averaging in those first 4 games? 1 rushing touchdown per game. 1 versus Clemson, 0 versus Lafayette. I don't know if they had a good rushing defense last year. Probably not. Didn't bother to look at that. 2 rushing touchdowns versus Northwestern. Okay, that's more like it, but only 1 versus UConn. Now, I didn't look at the rest of the team and some of this other stuff. Okay, fine. But then his rushing attempts per touchdown, 6.2. Okay, that's fine. That is significantly better than what national champions do, by the way. So, okay, if every 6 attempts you run for a touchdown, okay, I'm okay with that, all right? So that is a silver lining. And it is better than what it was in 2022. It was 9.5. But then here's where it gets interesting. So he plays Notre Dame. And, I won't go into the details of that game. Obviously, they lost. But then here's his average stats the last two games that he plays, Florida State and Louisville. Now, granted, one of these teams Notre Dame lost to, i.e. Louisville, and Florida State was undefeated, and they got snubbed out of playoffs. Now, granted, they got smoked in the face by Georgia in the bowl game. But point being, that's kind of the point. I want to understand how a transfer quarterback, someone with, quote, experience, someone with upside, someone who's been there, done that, hey, he's going to bring a lot to Notre Dame. He's got a lot of value to him that these younger guys just don't have. Here's the deal. You played three good teams, Clemson, Louisville, and Florida State last year. And Clemson kind of, say what you want about that. And Louisville, even same. But even Florida State, you lost both games against Florida State and Louisville. Now, maybe there's a bit of the injury bug here, right? We've already talked about the injury thing. Okay, fair enough. But my point is, you had the two of arguably the best teams on your schedule, and you didn't win. You didn't perform. And it's a noticeable drop-off with that. And so what I see as a Notre Dame fan, selfishly, is, look, obviously Notre Dame's playing Northern Illinois. We're going to play Navy. We're going to play Army, right? We're going to play Stanford, who's actually a shit team this year. My point is, I am not... yes, I want you to win those games. But I'm more interested in, how are you going to play at Texas A&M? How are you going to play when Florida State comes to town, and they most likely will be undefeated? How will you play in the Coliseum against our rival at the end of the year? And how will you play in Notre Dame's first playoff game at home against a very good team? Anyone see that LSU coming to Notre Dame talk? That was kind of fun to think about. That'd be kind of poetic justice if LSU came to South Bend for the first playoff game. But I'm very interested in Riley Leonard, or any quarterback. We don't have to, pick on him too much. But how will you do against, quote, good teams? And that's what I'm interested in. And unfortunately, with the test you had last year, it was not good. Grant, you're at Duke. There's a bunch of other things going on, with talent and, whatever. I don't think Duke has Under Armour, so I don't think they can make that a scapegoat like Notre Dame can. But anyone who knows me knows I've been on that train for a while. Dump Under Armour, just pick up Nike. It seems like everybody who wins shit that didn't do any sign stealing was wearing Nike. Yes, I'm talking about you, Michigan, you cheaters. Okay. Florida State, Louisville, obviously both are losses. His attempts go down, passing attempts go down on average from 24.8 to 19.5. Completions drop significantly. His completion percentage drops from 73% in the first four games to 44% versus Notre Dame. Hey, we had Al Golden. Good job, Al Golden. But then against Florida State and Louisville, it's 41%. Ugh. Yards drops even more, averaging 194 yards a game, down to 134 against Notre Dame to 95. Less than 100 yards passing. Is that what you want against a good team? No. Yards per completion, okay, it's kind of in the ballpark, 11.8, 11.2, 11.7. But it doesn't fucking matter if you have, I don't care about yard points. I care about points. Points on the scoreboard. Touchdowns. Riley Leonard had 0 passing touchdowns against Florida State and Louisville. In fact, he had 0 rushing touchdowns as well against those two teams also. So if rushing is his skill set, his dual threat ability, he didn't show it against Florida State and Louisville. Granted, maybe he was injured. I don't know. But does that mean he's injured now? I mean, he didn't play in the spring game. I don't know. Here's something else that's interesting. He was averaging, let's see here. In 13 games in 2022, he had 6 interceptions thrown. So less than half an interception per game. He threw 0 interception the first 4 games last year. Cool. 1 against Notre Dame and 1 in both Florida State and Louisville. So he's literally averaging 1 interception a game. Now, obviously, that's not terrible. But if I compare it to national champion averages, they average 0.4 interceptions per game, which is closer to what he was in 2022. Again, maybe he can get back to that level. I would hope so, since he is probably going to be our starting quarterback. And then rushing touchdowns dropped significantly. He didn't have any rushing touchdowns, right? So my point is this. Was the Notre Dame game some sort of inflection point? Was it some sort of moment in his career at Duke where, whoa, like shit's changing here. You're getting to the meat and potatoes of your ACC schedule. You play big bad Notre Dame. Howard Cross rolls up on you, and you're never the same. I hope not, but I do find the irony in the fact that we are kind of the team responsible for him to not perform well the next 2 games he plays, and then he's injured and he's out the rest of the season. Now, is the injury or whatever happened in Louisville, dependent upon the events, the last, his last series against Notre Dame? I don't know, because I don't have his medical chart in front of me, and nor am I a doctor. So, but I was very curious to see, okay, what happens before Notre Dame, during and after Notre Dame, and it's that I don't like the trend. That's all I'm saying. Okay, you're injured. That's fine. Like, it would be one thing if Florida State, he was putting up these great numbers, even numbers of 2022. I would prefer numbers that are closer to what national champion averages are. And then like, oh, Duke's defense sucked, or Florida State just has better talent and they just won. Okay, that's different, but that's not what's happening. I'm looking at you, the quarterback, the commander of the offense, someone that I am hoping is a playmaker, someone who is an ace, takes care of the football, delivers the football well, and does well on my stat sheet. And I'm not seeing it. So again, I'm not trying to hate on Riley Leonard here, but I'm kind of scratching my head like, well, why did we get this guy? And that sucks. That sucks to say. Why did we get Riley Leonard? And we'll come back to why I think he's on the team. I don't want to end the show on a downer, and I don't want people turning this off. I mean, I want people to listen to it all the time, obviously. But I also don't give a shit if people subscribe and, like and share and ring that bell. I don't give a shit about that, right? Like, look, I do this for fun. But I do want him to be successful as an individual, and I clearly want Notre Dame to be successful as a football team and a program in 2024. And then I asked myself, well, why did we bring this guy on? I don't know. Questions, comments, concerns? Nobody. Everybody's listening. It's cool. If anyone wants to talk, Justin Roush, Mark, William, Miss Zoom Zoom, Mike Sloan, Coach Where's CJ? No one? Nope. Everyone's listening. Cool. We're going to move on. It's like podcasting, old school style. There's lots of comments here. Let's make sure I don't miss anyone. He has a 1 leg on the defense. Knows it. 2 games on 1 leg. Mac Jones had a disgusting wide receiver core. I agree. But it's not the worst. October, North Lot. Yes, Adam Dowling. We are going to be in the North Lot in October. Wookie's going to bed. Jay Lehman is talking Bionics. And Mike Sloan is calling out Red Snapper, saying, where the hell are you at? I don't know. Mike Sloan, you've been invited to speak. Welcome to the show, good sir. Pink button, lower left-hand corner.
What is going on, my brother?
Yo, sir. Welcome to the show.
What's going down?
Well, quarterbacks, and we're not. I am not convinced if Riley Leonard should be the guy. I don't know. What do you think?
I'm with you. I mean, when the news broke that he was coming in, I think, well, my first reaction, along with everybody else, probably was like, "Wait a
Really?
minute, isn't this the guy that isn't this the guy that got hurt? I mean,
Didn't
what
we
are we doing
break his
here?"
leg? Like what? Is this like a we're sorry we broke your leg? Here, come over to Notre Dame. We'll make it feel better.
Yeah, no doubt. But just like anything else, I mean, time will tell. I think his biggest test is going to be week one to see how he can handle that environment, prime time, game day.
Agreed.
You know, it's going to be a ranked game, week one, see how he can handle everything and go from there. I mean, that's, my concern really more than him is, yeah, he may have some, stats and all, and everybody's praising him and hyping him up, but do we have any playmakers on offense that he can deliver to?
Right.
I don't care how good you can throw the ball. You've got to be able to hit somebody with it.
Amen. Yeah, and that's interesting. Like I saw. I don't want to give too much credit to this person because I think sometimes they're kind of a jackhole on X. But someone was making some comment about how our best receivers are from the lacrosse team, and he's not wrong, but it's the way he said it just really rubbed me the wrong way. But I will say this, I there is some truth to that. Just like good comedians, have an element of truth in their skits. In this particular guy's case, he's not necessarily wrong. Like, we don't have a Marvin Harrison, Golden Tate, kind of guy out there waiting to catch a pass from Riley Leonard or Steve Angeli or, Deuce. Well, it won't be Deuce Knight this year, but you get my point.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure, who he's going to throw to. We did lose some of our guys, but we got Greathouse, and we said, the cupboard is not bare. I think the cupboard is just untested.
Right.
Like we don't have Michael Floyd. Like, oh, Michael Floyd clearly number one. You know what I mean? Like we don't have a household stand-up guy that people can be like, oh, next year, after this year, this guy's going, first round NFL, like Marvin Harrison, like a Michael Floyd. You know what I'm saying? And I think that in today's era of, and maybe it's fantasy sports, maybe it's just, the hyper recruiting and the NFL draft and NIL, or pick your poison. I don't know if fans are being anxious over this, or maybe it's just the fact that, passing touchdowns or the receiving, the passing game in general is a little more sexy. Can I say it that way? So a lot of people are talking about it. People refer to it as a modern offense. I don't really know what that means, but people do look highly on passing, which they're not wrong as they look at that. I just think it's maybe just a little short-sighted. I don't know. Mike, what do you think? I don't want to get on my RTDB rant here tonight.
I definitely need to be able to move the ball and, run at will when you need to, but it is nice to look beyond throwing 3 and 4 yard chunks over the middle. I mean, you've got to be able to hit the deep ball, not at will, but you've got to have guys that can create separation and can get open. And when they are tested, at least, on the 50-50 balls, you've got to have playmakers that can pull it in.
Yeah.
And, who knows who these guys are this year that's going to step up, but it's a good opportunity for some of the lesser knowns to go out and make a name for themselves. But, my concern pretty much for the season is, with the expansion of the playoffs, I mean, and the schedule we absolutely have to make the playoffs this year.
Amen.
You've got to go in week one. I mean, foot to throat and not let up and go in and try to make a statement, because you're in their house. They definitely want to take you down.
Sure.
That's going to help their. I think where are they at, like 20th or something?
Yeah, I don't. In all fairness, I don't pay too much attention to the preseason polls just because I mean, my brain always goes back to 2012 where USC was ranked preseason #1, and the end of the season they just were not at all. And so I'm just like, preseason. There's a whole lot of guessing going on, and that's not my bag here. But you're not wrong in the. How do I put this? Texas A&M is a big name. It's an SEC school. I clearly wanted to go to the game. I could not get tickets without spending shit tons of money, and I wasn't going to do that. Well-known traditions there. Fabulous recruiting class from a few years ago. My God. And a coach that's fresh, new. And I imagine that fan base is pretty fucking pumped to have Elko returning after he was. Whoa, okay, sorry, Windows. After returning to, where he was a DC under Jimbo, right? They're like, get this guy out of here, bring Elko back. He's being paid a fuck ton of money. They've got a good quarterback. They've got all sorts of the stage is set for a showdown in College Station at Kyle Field, a place that's still on my bucket list, a place I would love to go to. I would love to go to this game. I just can't afford it at this point. And it's not even so much the tickets. It's like, where the fuck am I going to sleep? There's all the hotels are sold out. But I agree with you that the first game is huge from and I don't want to say the eye test, so I'm not going to, but in the optics of first game of the year, games this team versus this team and people with something to prove or a fan base or whatever it is, I think Texas A&M fans are unsatisfied with what they got sold to with Jimbo Fisher because it never really panned out. I mean, they had a couple big wins, I guess, but you look at their win percentage over the years, it has been nothing great. They've had some really good recruiting classes, but again, the win percentage and trophies in the trophy case doesn't really prove it. I think they're hungry for something beyond just Johnny Football, and they want to make a splash. A team that's never made the college football playoffs, etc. And I think that they can get there. I just hope that Notre Dame beats the shit out of them.
Oh yeah. Well, you got to think too. It's that game is going to be hyped up leading into it. For one, I mean the players are going to be jacked, ready to get the season started. The fans are going to be jacked.
Game days, hell yeah.
Yeah, game day is going to be there. It's the first game of the year, the first game of the season. Primetime slot, national TV. I mean, they're going to have something to prove, and also, I mean, hey, it's Notre Dame coming to town, so
Amen.
it's definitely going to be, on their to-do list to beat us, and Freeman's going to have to get these guys ready. Not take anybody light. Don't have another Marshall incident, which granted, it's not Marshall, but it's. I think that this year's there's a lot that needs to be shown about who the team is, the direction they're going. I'm not sure if the same rhetoric of the defense always saves us, always bails us out. I feel pretty confident that the defense is still going to be pretty damn good.
It's what I am most excited for about this season. If anyone missed last week's show, go back to last week. The number one most important thing I'm excited for is our defense next year. Absolutely. Yeah. I couldn't agree with you more. Mike, I got a quick question for you. Is Riley Leonard that guy that can make Notre Dame defeat Texas A&M in College Station?
Honestly, I think that it all depends on the rest of the offense. Like I said, I mean, I look at it like every player, regardless of how good you are, whether you've had injuries that you're getting over and you've had time to heal on them, you're one play away from anything happening. So 2 snaps into the game, he could get hurt again. Nobody knows. I hope not.
And then Angeli trots his jolly ass out there.
Yeah, I mean, is he the guy? I mean, on paper, possibly. But again, we've got to have playmakers that make him look good. You can throw the ball all day and everywhere, but you've got to have the guys that can make the plays.
Amen. No, I think you're spot on there. Well, Mike, hey, we got a bunch of people still that want to comment on this, and I've got to do some comparison to Riley Leonard and his. Now he's entering a. What do I say? This a legacy? I don't know. A group of individuals. He's part of the transfer quarterback, portfolio here at Notre Dame. So, Mike Sloan, really appreciate you joining us, coming back to us.
Yeah, man. Just wanted to hop on for a minute, let you know appreciate what you're doing, and look forward to seeing you guys at the Stanford game. Can't wait.
Looking forward to it. Glad to meet you soon. At Mike Sloan 01 on the X. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much, sir. Go Irish. All right, Justin Roush, Coach for our season. Coach, I'll get back to you real quick. Justin Roush, real quick. 2 minutes, go. Justin Roush. On mute. Pink button. Lower left-hand corner.
Pink button. There it is.
Yo, what's up, brother?
Me? How are you, man?
Yo, what do you think of Riley Leonard?
Well, obviously I only saw him a handful of times. I don't follow Duke that much for good reason. But what I wanted to bring to point is what you were just talking about, that this constant transfer quarterback thing that I'm personally not a huge fan of. Is Riley Leonard our best quarterback right now? Probably.
Maybe.
I just in the deepest of me,
he has the most experience. Can I say that?
Correct. Yeah.
Because that is a factual statement. He has been the starter and played more games as a starter than anyone else on this football team, right? And I think, and that carries weight. Like, I don't want to downplay that.
Absolutely. But let me ask you this. How much of a decrease based on our schedule this year? How much of a decrease in percentage of making the playoff with CJ Carr as the starter?
Wait, say that again. You threw a lot out there. If CJ Carr is the starter,
what are our chances of making the playoff versus Leonard?
How the fuck should I know that?
I'm just throwing it out there.
I don't know.
I'm kind of a fan of starting a young guy.
I mean, for fuck's sakes, Tyler Buckner had fabulous statistics in college. I'm not trying to be rude or mean, but we will talk about this later. Tyler Buckner had very good statistics in high school and was a highly rated recruit, and that doesn't necessarily give me a warm fuzzy that because of Tyler Buckner we're making the playoffs. Now, CJ Carr, I did see him, throw some stuff in the spring game or whatever, and that's cool. I did not see Riley Leonard because he just come off surgery, sure. Mm-hmm. Okay, which doesn't help his case. I mean, look, you want my opinion? Start Angeli.
I'm just trying to think. Oh, there you go. I mean, I'm just trying to think outside the box since we're talking about Riley Leonard. He's going to start. Hopefully he's the savior, right? Like, hopefully he is the guy that gets.
I also don't want to belittle, Gaduli, Freeman, and Denbrock because they see these guys in practice every day. Okay.
Yeah.
If they're watching Riley Leonard versus Steve Angeli, and listening to the input from Adam Dowling, who was on earlier, maybe Riley Leonard does. It'll be on podcast form. You can check it out. Yeah. But my point is, they see these guys every day. I don't. I don't have press access. I'm sitting here in central Indiana outside of Indianapolis, and I'm running a show. And so a lot of my input comes from the internet, okay? Which frankly, most other podcasts do because they just seem to focus on recruiting all the time. That being, and super chats, which we don't have, but that's fine. All I'm saying is I don't know if Riley Leonard is like the ace in the hole. Can I say that? Like,
Yes, absolutely.
I don't feel like, oh man, Notre Dame is in such a better place because we got Riley Leonard. Like, I'm kind of more like, okay, look, you brought in Steve Angeli. Granted, okay, look, we will talk about recruiting a little bit. Granted, he was a 3-star, 89% composite, whatever, He was ranked 43rd nationally as all quarterbacks in his class in 2022. Okay, fine. But my point is, like, how can he develop under Gaduli if he doesn't start? I mean, Angeli's had one fucking start. It was the Sun Bowl.
Yeah.
To which he did really well. We'll talk about that later. But I'm just like, did we really need to bring in a new guy? I'm not convinced that. Can I say that I don't think Riley Leonard was necessary for the success of the team? I'm not saying take him or leave him. I'm saying it's like, all right, you took him on, you took a scholarship away from someone else for him. And I'm saying that's a bad thing. But it's like, this guy is injury prone. This guy was after he played Notre Dame, was on a downward trajectory, which we just already talked about in this show tonight. And you bring him in, why? Because he has some sort of like weird insight into Mike Elko's like philosophy? Fuck, we played him last year. That should be all we need. I don't know. Like, I mean, maybe it's a good thing Mike Elko developed that guy for us. I don't think that's the case either because he's a defensive-minded coach. I sound like such a hater.
You're coming off as one a little bit, and I'm not trying to downplay.
But am I like nothing is jumping off the stat sheet? I am purposely leaving something off. I'll talk about it at the end. We will end the show on a high note.
You'll build it up. Well, either way,
you know me. I don't
sure.
just like end doom and gloom unless I really mean it. But like in this particular case, I'm like, I don't know. There's really only one thing that's an upside, and even then, Sam Hartman was better at this in 2021 than Riley Leonard was in 2022. I don't know. Like, I don't know. I'm just like perplexed over, was this necessary? Are we truly establishing some sort of development of our quarterbacks that we recruit? And let me go to that. If that's the case, then why even bother recruiting quarterbacks? I mean that seriously. If you're going to build in a fucking transfer every year or every other year from the ACC or wherever, Jack Cohn from Wisconsin, fine.
Yeah.
He was really the first. So I don't want to throw too many rocks at Jack, but because
I'm just tired of the cycle of this. Honestly.
See, that's my point. Like, I'm fatigued. I'm fatigued, Justin. I'm fatigued. And I'm not trying to be a hater. I'm just like, was this necessary? I don't think so. And B, how can we ever fucking develop a guy if he doesn't see the field?
Which was the point of at the very beginning.
This isn't like. I mean, this is probably an improper comparison just because of the wealth of time between now and our last national championship in '88. But Tony Rice, look, Lou Holtz recruits him, brings him in, he plays, but '88 was not Tony Rice's first season, right? So my point is, like, he had to bring him in, develop him, nurture him, whatever you want to say. And then, okay, fine. Now he plays. And it's like, yeah, that's why we were also successful in 88 is because we actually developed a fucking guy. Yeah. You know? Like everything else, like when we thought we would have that, maybe 2014 with Golson, maybe 2020 with Ian Book, maybe 2016 with Deshaun Kaiser, which went completely sideways. It's not necessarily Kaiser's fault. All I'm saying is like you think you're developing a guy in the program, in the system, and you expect him to get better. That doesn't happen. A lot of that's Kelly. But now that Freeman's there and he doesn't get a pass card anymore, he's not new anymore. This is year 3. Okay? And furthermore, this is magical year 3 at Notre Dame. We expect something out of you. I'll just put it there. I'm not going to say what. I'm just saying we, quote, expect something out of you. All right? So, I don't know. I sound
well, thanks for having me on, man. I look forward to meeting everybody. It's going to be great.
Same here. Excited to meet you, Justin Roush. And, yeah, the whole crew, we are really looking forward to the Stanford game, getting everybody up. Everyone from across the country, Stevie the Irish in Ireland, people in Oregon, California, Arizona, Texas. I went through the whole laundry list of where everybody was from last go around. Yeah, it's exciting. Coach Barsegian, I see you there. We'll invite you to speak. I think you will agree with this next bit here, Coach, where we compare line by line Riley Leonard to the other 2 transfer quarterbacks, Jack Cohn and Sam Hartman. Coach, I hear you there. Welcome to the show.
Like you, I do not think Riley Leonard is the guy. I don't think he should be the starter, and I do not think he's going to take us to the promised land, so to speak.
Sure. Now, why do you not think he will take Notre Dame to the promised land in year 3?
Well, I'll start this way. If you are supporting Leonard from a standpoint of, he's obviously going to be the starter, we don't have much of a say in it, you're supporting the starting quarterback as a Notre Dame fan. Get it, understand it, and I don't fault you in the least for it. It's the best we can do. However, the pessimist in me from being a Notre Dame fan
and a 2-time national champion coach.
Thank you. It's the pessimist in me just wants to scream from the mountaintop. We've seen and heard this before.
We have seen and heard this before.
With Ian Book, who collapsed when it mattered. Again, not all his fault. He had Brian Kelly at the helm calling plays, but he collapsed when it mattered.
That's a handicap, that's for sure.
Jack Cohn, who I think arguably, results-wise, probably did the best of our 3 transfer quarterbacks so far.
Yeah. You're setting me up here. I appreciate this. Keep going. No, in a good way. You're setting me up.
And then we had I'm trying to think of the best word to describe him. Didn't quite live up to expectations as we had hoped in Tyler Buckner. Dude. And then we had Drew Pine, who should have rode the pine the entire time and held a clipboard.
Yeah, and I need to find the statistical piece where, look, let me talk about this because this has been on my mind. I have to find it, but I'm probably gonna have to go back and listen to an old show to find this because I don't know where it is in the notes.
I agree with John Kennedy at Always Irish. If you cannot see over your offensive line, you have no business being a quarterback. I'm sorry.
That is a problem. What I will say about Pine is everyone remembers him from the Wisconsin game, which, granted, I love that game. It was exciting. Tyree.
Game of his life.
Whoa, Tyree. I mean, should we play it? I mean, we won't, but we could. If people really want me to play it, I will. But it's the Gus Johnson thing, just because I love Gus Johnson. The thing with Drew Pine is a lot of people remember the Wisconsin game, and I remember doing a deep dive analysis of what he actually fucking did in that game, and it wasn't anything too spectacular. I think people remember the Tyree thing. He threw a touchdown pass, and you remember him doing the swagger walk, which is cool. Don't get me wrong. It's 100% gangster cool. I'm just saying from a statistical convincing, oh yeah, you're the man. No, not at all. Now, Coach, you've kind of set me up here because you're talking about Sam Hartman and Cone and Riley Leonard here, because they're all kind of at this point going to fall into the same, I think, image that Notre Dame fans are going to remember. All three of them, they were all transfers, and two of them were both from ACC schools. Okay. I was looking. We could go into the deep dive of this, but I will cut to the chase here. Jack Cohn had concrete feet. Sam Hartman was better. Riley Leonard is significantly better than both of them from a mobility standpoint. And the real proof of that is in the rushing category. However, I am not bringing you in as a fucking quarterback to rush the football, all right? Unless Mike Denbrock is running in some fucking triple option, bullshit, which isn't bullshit. It's actually pretty cool and nasty if it's done right, which he may do. He did it with Malik Zaire in the Music City Bowl. Hi, Wes. I see you there. Hello. But you know where I'm going with this. If it's a legit pronged offense of run the football, pass the football with an RPO kind of thing with Riley Leonard, yeah, it could be pretty fucking impressive, intimidating, and effective. But does that necessarily mean you should be playing quarterback? I don't know the answer to that. And so when I look at statistically and isolate the passing, nuggets of Riley Leonard's best year, which is 2023, versus the best years, quote unquote, of Sam Hartman and Jack Cohn, Riley Leonard's not even close to these other two guys. For example, win percentage. All right, let's just go straight to the top. The number one most important thing that matters is win, baby, win. Jack Cohn has the best record in 2021. Okay, 84%. Then Sam Hartman in 2021, believe it or not, at Wake Forest. It's actually better than last year, slightly. We went 10-13 last year, but he didn't have anything to do with the bowl game because he decided to sit out. So maybe I should have changed that number. But, and then Riley Leonard's at 69%. Okay, fine. Attempts per game. Sam Hartman threw the most. Riley Leonard's about on par with Jack Cohn in, his last year at Notre Dame. Fine. Completion percentage, don't really care about that. Yards per game. Okay, moving the ball downfield. Sam Hartman's the best in 2022 when his last year at Wake, 308 yards. Riley Leonard, 228 in 2022. Jack Cohn, 242 and 220 in 2021. Attempts per touchdown, this is kind of an efficiency thing. Riley Leonard's not even close. 19.6 passes. Attempts. That's not completions. That's attempts. 19.6 attempts per touchdown for Riley Leonard in 2022. Sam Hartman was 12.5 last year. His best was 11.3 in 2022. Jack Cohn was 15.4 in 2021 at Notre Dame. So still better than Riley Leonard. Okay? Touchdowns per game. Sam Hartman's blowing everybody out of the water. 3.2 touchdowns at Wake Forest in 2022. 2 flat last year. Jack Cohn, 1.9 his last year at Notre Dame. Riley Leonard, 1.5 touchdowns per game. Passing, okay? Now, touchdown to interception ratio, right, is your volatility coupled with your productivity, if I may say that. Both Cohn and Hartman are better. Well, Hartman's not better, but Cohn was 3.6. Jack Cohn, believe it or not, took care of the football better than any of these three guys, both at Wisconsin and at Notre Dame. 3.6. Riley Leonard's 3.3. Sam Hartman 3.2 at Wake Forest, 3 flat last year. Now, if I jump over to rushing, there's no comparison between the other two guys, and we've already talked about this. So Riley Leonard's clearly a better rusher. But it's like, I'm not bringing you in to be a rushing guy. Again, unless the offense is designed around that skill set, which may be what Denbrock is doing. Now, I don't recall the timeline of who was brought in first. Did Marcus Freeman and the administration reach out through the transfer portal to get Riley Leonard prior to signing Denbrock, or was it the other way around? I honestly don't know the answer to this, and I didn't do this research, through articles or whatever, of what happened first. Now, if Denbrock happened first, and then he brought in Riley Leonard, that to me seems a lot more significant about where we're going with all of this than the other way around, where it's, okay, we brought in Riley Leonard, this guy who we injured in the Notre Dame Duke game, and we're going to bring him in because of his rushing ability and his ho-hum passing ability. I don't know. And then, we'll bring in Denbrock because, well, why not, right? And there's a lot of angst to that. I don't know.
Well, I struggle to understand why we bring in these transfer quarterbacks the very same year that they either play their former team or we play a good chunk of the teams from their conference. Jack Cohn struggled against Wisconsin his transfer year in 2021, where he came from.
I think there was an injury element to that too, but you're not wrong necessarily, right?
And then we get Sam Hartman, who in his collegiate career was usually dominated by Louisville. Louisville fans ran their mouth the entire week leading up to the game, and we couldn't even do anything. All he did was justify their arguments the entire week. And we've got a guy who Mike Elko knows very, very well. Why do we continue to do this? What is it about these quarterbacks from smart schools who we always end up seeing to either play their former school or we meet their former coach within the next season? Why do we continue to do this and shoot ourselves in the foot, or at least set ourselves up for potential embarrassment and disappointment?
Well, that's an interesting point I hadn't thought of before. So let me get this straight. Mike Elko, a former defensive coordinator at Notre Dame for a year, a defensive coordinator, defensive-minded coach at Texas A&M, then goes to Duke, quote-unquote, develops Riley Leonard, understands his tendencies, his skill sets, understands him probably better than Marcus Freeman because he had him for 2 years. Can I put it that way?
Yeah.
And now he's our quarterback, and now we're going to go to Mike Elko's house at College Station and attempt to roll Riley Leonard out to beat him? Interesting. That's an interesting take I had not thought / heard before. And I think it's interesting that, well, maybe we're sandbagging ourselves here, because why would we roll out a guy who we already know what his strengths are? Is that what you're getting at?
Now, yeah. Now, obviously, Freeman and company have, I'm sure they've taken that into account. But I think if Notre Dame beats or dominates either one, A&M is going to be on the defense, not so much Riley Leonard, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah. Well, and I think that is going to be the pillar of this football.
I think Leonard will... I think in the end he will do enough to get Notre Dame across the finish line, but it's majority going to be because of the defense.
Yeah, that's interesting. No doubt. No doubt. Now, a lot of people like talking about recruiting, and this is a little bit of a sidebar thing. I don't know if this really means a whole lot, but I was curious about this. Something spoke to me about where did Riley Leonard end up as a recruit / transfer relative to Sam Hartman and Jack Cohn. So Riley Leonard as a transfer is considered a 4-star. Hartman was a 4-star transfer. Jack Cohn a 3-star. So 92, 94, 85 composite per 24/7, respectively, for these three men as they transfer from their previous institution into the University of Notre Dame. Now, nationally ranked, Sam Hartman was 7th last year as far as transfers go. Riley Leonard was 44 and 83 as a transfer. And Sam Hartman was the number 1 quarterback transfer from last year's class. Jack Cohn was number 5th in the transfer class at quarterback. Riley Leonard, 8th. That means there's 7 other guys that are better than Riley Leonard in the transfer portal per 24/7 that in theory we could have gotten, which we didn't. And I don't even know who they are. Does
that take into account academics?
Well, okay, so all right. Here's the deal. And we will talk more about the high level macro stuff next week. Next week's show is going to be a little different. It's going to be very macro, a little less Scotch and, well, it will not be less Scotch, but it'll be a little less spreadsheets. It'll be very macro about Notre Dame, and we will talk about academics and things of that nature.
Because, I mean, it's one thing if Jaden Milroe enters the transfer portal, he's probably not getting accepted to the University of Notre Dame. But
yeah, I don't know. I can't speak to anything about his transcript at the University of Alabama or even what he did in high school. But what I find interesting is if I even jump back to high school, okay, and forget the 24/7 composite score because that's kind of normalized within your recruiting year. I kind of wanted to look at where you ranked relative to other people in your position or just in general. Riley Leonard was nationally ranked 682 as a senior, right, going into college. Sam Hartman, 767. Sounds like a jumbo jet. Not good either. Jack Cohn, 468. He's actually the best. Within their state, obviously it's different states. We're going to skip that. But nationally, as a quarterback, Jack Cohn, 16th. Best quarterback in his class. Sam Hartman, 21 in his class. Riley Leonard, 58. There are 57 quarterbacks better, quote unquote, per 24/7 entering, senior year or whatever, that are better than Riley Leonard as far as recruiting goes. That doesn't. That's not. That doesn't.
Yeah, I don't put a whole lot of stock in that because look at Gunnar Kiel.
And you're not wrong when you say that. Okay, but listen to this. And maybe Riley Leonard got a raw deal because of the other quarterbacks in his 2021 class. Number 1, Quinn Ewers. Quinn Ewers. Number 2, Caleb Williams. Fuck that guy. I'm kind of jumping around here. Number 4 was Drake May. Number 6, JJ McCarthy. Just won a title. Asterisk. Number 8, Kyle McCord. Number 14, Jalen Milroe. Coach, you just mentioned him. 37, Shedeur Sanders. Just kind of, that's more of kind of a, the media kind of hype. Riley Leonard was 58th in his class as quarterbacks. There's 57 other guys. In fact, There was another guy who was recruited as a quarterback who came to Duke that was higher ranked than he was. Now, it didn't pan out because I don't think he played or whatever. So I'm not going to read into that. I don't even know the whole story. But here's another thing I wanted to say. Who is another notable quarterback in 2021, Coach? Hint, he was number 10. Second hint, he went to Notre Dame and is currently enrolled at Notre Dame. Tyler Buckner.
Oh, did he win? Oh,
Tyler Buckner was ranked.
He was number 12 when he was quarterback, though.
Well, no. His rank in the class.
Oh, rank. Okay.
Rank in the class. Tyler Buckner was number 10 in the 2021 class. And this dude's going to be playing fucking receiver for us. And Riley Leonard is going to be starting. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I was like, where does he rank recruiting wise? And I'm going through and looking through the list. I'm trying to find him. And I'm like, wait a minute. I just scrolled past Tyler Buckner. Oh shit. It's the same class. So,
well, if he can keep from getting hurt playing lacrosse, then maybe he can finally keep from getting hurt playing football.
Just wrap him in bubble wrap. It'll be fine. Yeah. No, I mean, Tyler Buckner's fast as shit. And I'm not saying he should be quarterback. Maybe there's a double pass out there somewhere. Who knows?
Flea flicker.
I'll take a flea flicker on like a jet sweep reverse kind of thing, and then it's like a Statue of Liberty Trojan horse play. Yeah, I'll take that. Yeah, I'm down with that. But yeah, I thought that was very, very, very interesting about where Riley Leonard was as a recruit relative to other people in his class, which is not good. And Grant, there's some studs on this list and notable people. But it kind of also feels like, this sounds shitty what I'm about to say, but it kind of feels like we're just like getting the leftovers here. I mean,
it feels like there's.
Can I say that? I know it sounds really negative, but it's like nothing. Even the recruiting thing doesn't make me excited to have him.
Well, it almost feels like the last couple of years there's not really been a high profile, just stand out. God, this guy's transferring from where he was kind of quarterback. That I can think of, at least.
Well, and how many are there? Because, look, if you're transferring, you clearly lost your job to someone who's better than you, or you got injured, or you have some sort of, personal thing with the administration, right?
It's not like when Jalen Hurts transferred and was picked up, but it's not like when he entered the transfer portal. There's not been anybody of that caliber that I can think of at the moment.
Or Caleb Williams just going over with Lincoln Riley. Right? Yeah, no, I'm with you.
There's not been a standout.
DJ Uiagalelei is still in. He's still playing.
He's still playing. Drew Pine, I believe, is still playing somewhere.
Drew Pine is still playing. Fuck, man, that COVID year really throws things off.
Yeah, he was leaving Arizona. I saw that earlier this spring.
That's wild. I don't know. I don't want to be negative about having Riley Leonard, but at the same time, nothing's really jumping off the page. Now, I do want to make a case for Steve Angeli. Okay, since we're talking about quarterbacks, this is what I want to talk about. And Coach, you're welcome to stay on. And I think Nolan or Mark or somebody wanted to speak. So by all means, please jump on, guys. I'm sorry I missed you, but we were deep diving into what I knew Coach Parsegian would be wanting to discuss, which is the transfer thing and the specific comparison about Sam Hartman and Jack Cohn. I want to give a little bit of credence and shed some light on Angeli. Now, what I'm about to present is statistically flawed. It is a sample size of 1. However, it is the one opportunity in which Angeli was the starter because he hadn't been a starter prior to. In fact, he was a starter in a bowl game. Which, okay, say what you want about bowl games, guys transferring, entering the portal, opting out, okay, bowl games don't matter unless it's the playoff or even a New Year's Six. And even if you're Marvin Harrison, apparently that doesn't matter either. But, Nolan, I see you. We'll invite you to speak. Hello. With Angeli, he played fucking phenomenal in Oregon State. Nolan, am I right or am I wrong?
You're right.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Yeah. I mean, you can disagree if you want,
No, I agree. I absolutely agree. He looked like the guy, but if you go back and look at, and again, this takes nothing away from his performance, and you kind of just noted on it, but if you go back and look at how many players they had sitting out on the defensive side, it was almost like ridiculous. I think they had like
false. I
Really?
remember doing this analysis for Oregon State. I don't have the numbers in front of me right here, but if you really want, look, I challenge anyone to fact check me on this one. I remember doing this analysis leading into the game, post game, whatever. I was looking at Oregon State's roster, and the guys that were making tackles, this, that, or the other, were these people that were fresh and new and coming off the bench, and now we're starting. No. Oregon State was primarily depleted on the offense, but not on the defense. Their defense was primarily intact with most of their starters. And if you recall, their coach, who's now over at Michigan State, fuck you, Sparty, I don't like you. And I also don't like Oregon State, by the way, even though the Platypus Trophy between them and Oregon is pretty dope. Oregon State's defense was halfway intact and more than halfway. It was, I'd say, 90% intact.
Okay, I got confused. I knew it was. I just remember
it was one of the two. Yeah, well, and you're not. I'm not trying to put you on blast. I'm just saying that is not an uncharacteristic opinion, or people like, well, there was a bunch of people that opted out, and like that is definitely the trend, which I'm happy and thankful that the playoff committee. Like at first, let me back up. The playoff committee, playoffs, all that is going to 12 teams. At first, I was like, man, 12 teams, that just seems stupid. But in the context of the current era that is college football and people sitting out, opting out, declaring for the draft, transfer portal, whatever, it's nice to see that 12 teams is better than 8. And if you have 12 teams that are vying for a viable national championship, that's 4 more teams than 8 and 4 more rosters of good players on good teams that may not opt out for the opportunity to win a national championship. So I'm going to go on a limb with that. Now back to this Angeli Oregon State thing, Nolan, like you're talking about. Angeli did pretty well, right?
He did. Yes, absolutely. He did. He did a really good job. I mean, I'm not sure his stats on the game, but just from watching it, I mean, he was slinging. And if I think you talked about this last week, they primarily ran the ball most of the game, right?
Ooh.
Which opened the passing game up a lot.
I do have this. Bear with me. Make sure we're looking at the right thing. Man, it's been a long time since I looked at this.
I remember you saying super high percentage of them running the ball.
It's extremely high. We ran the ball 71.6% of the time in that Oregon State game, which is funny because we didn't have Estime, right? Because he opted out.
Yeah.
We had 48 running plays, 19 passing plays. Holy mother of Lord. 236 rushing yards, averaging 4.9 on the ground. And we had 232 yards in the air.
Yeah, and the running game opened up the passing game a lot in that game, and you could
Absolutely.
tell. That was a game. That was a really fun game.
Well, and it's like, and that's kind of my MO. It's like, look, if you can run, why the fuck would you pass? You don't need to pass. Like Passing is fun. It's sexy, but it is more risk adverse, right? There's technically less control of the football as it's flying in the air for 30 fucking yards. You know what I'm saying? Like, go ahead and just hand it off, put it in someone's belly, and let him hold on to the points with two hands and run through the fucking, between the guard and the tackle. Like, that's my MO. Like, all right, I'm getting the juices flowing of RTDB. But we're talking about quarterbacks tonight, and we're talking about why they're there, not just to stand there in the 2 seconds between taking the ball from the center and handing it to a running back, okay? We do want them to do something creative with it, i.e. throwing it, or depending on what coach is calling, are you doing an option? Are you doing a pitch? Are you passing? Are you, this, that, or the other? And
yeah.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're all right. I just wanted to I want to talk about Riley Leonard. Can we talk about it?
Yeah, whatever you want, man. Go for it.
I'm different from you and Coach on Riley Leonard.
Okay.
I have
healthy
huge
debate. I love it.
I love the numbers that you bring up. He was ranked this in the class. We got to remember he didn't start playing football till late. He was a basketball guy. He wanted to play basketball. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So he wasn't that takes away a little bit of the high school ranking that we were talking about. That is my hoping mechanism, I guess.
Sure. That's fair.
But and the transfer portal, yeah, Cohen was the whatever he was. I think he said 7th or something transfer portal quarterback or whatever it was. We both know it's so different. And this year the transfer it was.
I mean, is it really? I mean, we're only talking like 3 years difference.
I think from maybe not Hartman's, obviously, but I think from now.
I mean, Hartman was just last year.
Yeah. But I think from Cohen now, way different personally. I think this year it was a very quarterback heavy portal.
Okay.
There was a lot of good quarterbacks that were in the portal, but I also am I was a big Hartman guy, but I truly believe, and I might get some hate for this, I think Parker absolutely ruined Hartman. Ooh. If he would have went, he was projected like a 5th round pick when he was going to leave Wake Forest, and it essentially got way worse at Notre Dame. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong when you say that. I mean, I appreciate the comparison. I appreciate the comparison to Riley Leonard, and I am aware of his basketball prowess and skill set. But at the same time, it's like, look, the whole point of college football is ranking teams, specifically Notre Dame, to other teams week to week. And so I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility or even the probability and appropriateness to compare Riley Leonard to other quarterbacks at his same level at that time. That being said, if I'm doing a comparison of this transfer quarterback from year to year, maybe the OC is different, like you're kind of talking about and touching on there with Parker and Hartman. And I will be the first to admit that I think Riley Leonard is blessed with having the most competent offensive coordinator between Cohn and Hartman, right? I mean, Cohn had Reese, Hartman had Parker. Give me a break. Now you have Denbrock in there as someone who actually I am confident will use his skill sets to the best of his ability. So I will throw you that I do think Riley Leonard has the best opportunity to be successful because I think he has the best coaching afforded to him. All I'm saying is if I just compare his numbers of what he has done previous, and maybe he had dipshits coaching him before, I don't know. But that doesn't change the fact that on paper, his numbers are not nearly as good at all as far as passing the football when you compare him to Hartman or Cohn. That's a fact.
Yeah, and it is, and it's obviously, excuse me, this is obviously having a little bit of hope that I personally pick. I would rather have an athletic quarterback than a pocket passing quarterback personally, and that's why I'm super high on Leonard. And I truly believe and I know we differ in that, but I truly believe.
I don't necessarily differ in that because go back to look. I want Notre Dame to win a title. I want Notre Dame to be successful. How many dual threat quote unquote quarterbacks have been successful? Lots of them. I mean, these are the elite of the elite guys. The Cam Newtons, the Jameis Winstons, the Vince Youngs. Like go down the list, right? You could even argue Caleb Williams. As much as I don't like him, he was athletic. Is Riley Leonard that guy? Maybe. I hope so. I really want him to be, just like you do. All I'm saying is that in addition to like his physical build and the quote unquote look he has as a intimidating, dual threat guy, you've got to put it on the fucking field and on the stat sheet for me to really sign up and hitch my wagon to this.
I'm with you. I mean, he got to prove it. I'm super hopeful because I'm a huge Denbrock guy, and I mean, if we want to be completely,
me too.
Jaden Daniels wasn't shit before Denbrock, and I'm not saying Denbrock's fully responsible for him being an absolute stud.
I'd rather say that Denbrock was over Kelly.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's my point. I think we both kind of know it wasn't Kelly. You know what I mean? Just from past him at Notre Dame.
Right.
So I would like to give Denbrock a lot of props on that, which makes me super, super hopeful because I mean Daniels wasn't shit at Arizona State, and so I don't know, man.
There's a lot of unknown right now going into this season about and to me personally about Riley Leonard. It is his ability to stay healthy, have the surgeries that he has undergone been successful. Has he healed up proper? Does he have the strength, the speed, the athleticism, and the just the ability to be his best self for Notre Dame in a gold helmet when he runs his ass out there in Kyle Field? I don't know the answer to that, and I want him to be very, very successful, right? I don't think he's better than Angeli. Granted, Angeli, I'm looking at a sample size of 1. But let's look at what Angeli did in one game as a starter against Oregon State. Granted, so sample size of 1. But Oregon State was not a shit defense last year. They weren't the best of the best, but they weren't terrible. Angeli was a 78% completion percentage. Okay? He threw 3 touchdowns. He accounted for 60% of all the touchdowns that Notre Dame put up. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
His attempts to touchdown ratio is really, really high. 6.3. Well, it's actually low. You want a low number. Your efficiency, 6.3 attempts, and you throw a touchdown. That's better than any of these guys by far. Cone, Hartman, Riley Leonard, etc. And he was halfway decent in rushing. He got 3.4 yards per carry. Now, Riley Leonard's better. Last year, even 6.1. So that's cool. My point is, like, Angeli has been a loyal foot soldier, and not that we should reward loyalty. That's not what I'm saying. All I'm saying is you called on Angeli to rise to the occasion in the one game, and he did it convincingly. And Notre Dame did it convincingly. And now you're going to ask him again to sit on the bench behind Riley Leonard. I don't know. Like, look, I think Angeli's smart enough to know to just stick it out, do his thing, be a good teammate, be a good player, and be part of a winning program. And that takes maturity and that takes humility. And I respect that about Angeli.
absolutely. I respect the hell out of him. He hasn't. I mean, he could jump ship a year ago, but in which I kind of I think it's kind of unfair to him. I get the loyalty thing too. I really do.
Well, it's hard to not to with, human nature and this, that, or the other. Now, we're getting really late here, and it's approaching the wee hours of midnight here. Nolan, there's something I want to talk about. I'm not kicking you off, and I see William here. William, we'll bring you on, invite you to speak. There is something I want to end on a positive note that Riley Leonard does bring, which I purposely haven't done. I've kind of hinted at it a little bit here, but nothing too crazy. But it is, I think, one thing that I think separates Riley Leonard from the others. And that is his ability to be an impactful player. What do I mean by that? In 2022, Riley Leonard had 20 passing touchdowns and 13 rushing touchdowns, so 33 total. The team as a whole in 2022, Duke, had 54 total touchdowns. What is the most important stat I talk about? National champions, on average, the number one important thing, total touchdowns scored. And Riley Leonard in 2022 accounted for 61% of every touchdown, either through the air or on the ground with his feet, accounted for 61% of every touchdown. Now, I haven't done the breakdown of what national champion quarterbacks do on the ground and through the air, right? I haven't done that analysis. This is something that I thought of today, and I did the analysis with Riley Leonard, and I was like, aha! Maybe this is why we've brought him on. In 2022 is significantly brilliant, quite frankly. Now, it drops off significantly on average in 2023. And in the first 4 games, Clemson, Lafayette, Northwestern, UConn of last year, he accounts for 30% on average of all their touchdowns at that point in the season. So he's dropped off from 60% to 30%, and then after that it plummets, right? I guess it's 50% in the Notre Dame game, but that's one game. But he was not responsible for any touchdowns at all his last 2 games at Duke, Florida State, and Louisville. But if Riley Leonard can return to his impactful performance and account for over 60% of all of Notre Dame's touchdowns, dude, sign me up. Okay? That's the one thing that I think this guy can bring. Because, quite frankly, the other transfer quarterbacks that Notre Dame has had, it's not even close to what these other guys had while they were at Notre Dame. Sam Hartman was 40%, responsible for 40% of all touchdowns at Notre Dame last year. Jack Cohn was 46.6% at Notre Dame. So, Riley Leonard, if you can return to your influence of producing touchdowns like you did at Duke in 2022, 60%, 61% of all touchdowns, hey, I'm there, man. I'm cool. Well, we got a bunch of people on mute, a couple people invited to speak. Nolan's giving me 100%. Thank you. That's what I got, man. I've kind of broken down Riley Leonard. It's one of those things where we break down and we build you up at the end. Look, if he's most likely the quarterback of Notre Dame, I support him in the role, and I wish him nothing but success. I have lots of criticism, a lot of skepticism over where he is relative to some of these other guys and his ability to come off of nursing an injury. But I also believe he is impactful and can account for most of Notre Dame's points on the offense, like he did in 2022. And maybe that's what Denbrock sees as he watches film. He looks at his physical abilities, his traits, his stature, and he says, hey, the offense I'm trying to run, this guy gives us the best chance to win. At least that's my hope. That's all I got, man. Nolan, Coach Bar, CJ, and William, if anyone wants to speak, by all means, unmute yourself.
Hey, real quick, just going to say a couple things and get off here.
That's all right.
It's really interesting. You made a good point about what came first, the chicken or egg with Denbrock and Leonard. You know, what came first? You know, was it
I have no idea.
Denbrock then Leonard, or Leonard?
I'm going to go on a limb and say it was Leonard first, but I don't know.
I think so too. But I think the coaching staff, Freeman especially, and the athletic director, you know, have a lot of pressure on them to produce, and maybe that's why they didn't have faith in Angeli. I see your points on Angeli all the way, and I was very interested in seeing him do more, even with Hartman in last year, right? So I don't think they gave him enough time. And
agreed.
That
I would love
State
to see more
game,
film, more stats, more data on Angeli.
Right. The Oregon State showed that, and your stats that you pulled up reinforces it. I think maybe they know that, maybe the coaching staff knows that, well, we don't have a developed offensive line or a standout offensive lineman like we did in the previous years. So we need somebody to be more mobile. And I don't see, and to their point, would not call Angeli a mobile quarterback. Can he move?
I'd say he's
no, not really. He's a pocket guy. Is he a statue like our I can't whatchamacallit was?
Cone?
No,
I hope not.
Yeah, a Cone? No, not at all. I think he does move a little bit better than Cone, but he's not. He's not Angeli. I mean, he's not.
Do you know how many yards Cone accumulated in 2021 at Notre Dame?
I want to say it was negative yardage.
It's negative 100 yards.
Yeah, I knew it was negative, but I didn't want to. I didn't want to throw dirt on somebody, you know. And
no, so it's not throwing dirt. You're reading numbers on a spreadsheet. It's not negative. It's just fact. That's what it is. I'm sorry if people think it's negative. No, it physically is a negative number.
Do you see that where the point is like maybe they know that, okay, we have I think the most amount of snaps any of the offensive linemen have had, if the most one is like 10.
Yeah.
I mean, 10 games at the most.
It is a younger offensive line. That's something we did not talk about, and the influence of that. And how can we, right? You know, you got a new quarterback. You got a new offensive coordinator. You've got new linemen, you know, gelling, whatever. New scheme. We don't know the details of what's going on and how the quarterback and the O-line are going to be a cohesive unit.
And let's not leave out the wide receiver. I mean, that whole room has done a 180 from, you know, basically all these kids walking out to where now we got almost a whole new room, and we don't know. That's a big question mark of how are they going to play? How are these?
Yeah, I mean, it's not completely barren. I would say the rushing room, the running back room, is a lot more barren with the hole that Estime leaves. But I mean, there are 60% of all receptions returning. 56% of all yards, 68 of all touchdowns are returning. So it's not trash. It's not terrible. You know, but I think it's maybe some of the things where it's like, look, Holden Stays, Tyree, Merriweather, Flores, those are really the notable departures from last year in the receiving room. There's a handful of receptions, right, from the running backs, right? But that being said, if we just look at strictly receivers and tight ends, it's not terrible as far as what's returning.
Is it possibly the coaching staff feels that the overall grasp of the game is not Angeli's strongest? Maybe I'm trying to understand why.
Well, I don't know. I mean, he didn't start, but I also think that Angeli gets a lot of credit for being behind Sam Hartman and being able to observe and go through progressions and see this experienced guy, because he clearly was. But when asked to rise to the occasion, i.e. Sun Bowl, he does very well.
He did very well. So
I
don't
wish I had
understand.
more than just
Yeah,
one game of a sample size, against a bowl game that quite frankly doesn't matter, right? Like, I'll be the first to admit that, but I don't know enough. And maybe the coaching staff wanted to go with a more known quantity over someone who had significantly more starts. So again, my analysis on Angeli is statistically flawed because it's a sample size of one game.
right.
Whereas the Riley Leonard stuff, I think, is a lot more grounded in the sense that there's way more games to compare to, and much other people who have, said number of games equivalents or whatnot, so you don't skew the stats in one way or based off of one game, right? But this is all I have in front of me because the Angeli didn't start and he didn't play a whole lot last year, even though he looked really good in the spring game a few years ago, and then he looked arguably the best quarterback in this last year's spring game, right? I mean, like, he looked better than Minchie, he looked better than Carr. He's calm in the pocket. He doesn't look like he's panicking, freaking out. I'm not saying that Riley Leonard is going to do that, but I need someone to be a cool cat operator back there. And I do think
that was all
Angeli can do
because
that.
of being behind Hartman and being able to see the progressions. Like you said, that's exactly why he was able to look like how he looked in the spring game. So to your point, that's 100% right.
Well, it's a spring game. He knows he's not going to get, his
get
leg rolled up by Howard Cross. You know what I'm saying? Like there's it's not quite the same as a live game, down in College Station, right? So let's not, mince words here. But I think your points are valid. I really appreciate it, man. And we will see, what happens. Look, I want nothing for Riley Leonard to be successful and to take Notre Dame to the next level, whatever that is. Did I think he was necessary to do that? I don't know.
I don't think so.
And I think most people would argue, and what I showed tonight is that it was not necessary for Notre Dame's ability to remain viable. If anything, it just muddies the water and ticks off the quarterback room to the guys that are already in the system. Or, and Dos Leprechauns isn't on here tonight, but what he's going to come, if he was on, he'd say CJ Carr is the man. Get that guy as many reps as you can now as a freshman. And a lot of me doesn't say he's wrong for doing that. So we don't need to turn this into a CJ Carr discussion.
We don't even have time to discuss
We don't have enough time. I need to get my ass to bed. We're almost 2.5 hours in.
Right, yeah. Hey, well, I look forward to a lot of good football talk for the rest of the season, and you're going to be hearing from me throughout. So I appreciate you guys do good work, and go Irish.
Thank you. Go Irish. Thank you. I believe that was William at William A. Frazier on the X. Thank you so much. J.R. Roush gives us 100% up. Thank you. I'm glad we're getting an A+ on this show. I'm cutting it loose, guys. It's over 2 hours in, almost approaching 2.5 hours, and I got to get my butt to bed. Publicist sucker and put it up on Spotify. Thank you, everyone, for joining the Fighting Irish Faithful show tonight. A big deep dive into quarterbacks, a lot of statistics, a lot of comparison, a lot of looking at what is out there. What is the grass green? Is the grass dying? I honestly am not 100%. But either way, I'm happy that we do have Riley Leonard. I do think we can be successful with him. I just don't know if he's the guy. I really don't. And that's all I'm going to leave you with. I really don't know. He could be, but the numbers, I'm not going to bullshit you guys. It doesn't look like he is convincingly trending in that direction. And that's all I'm going to say. Do I think he should be the starter? It's hard to see because I am not in practice, so I can't actively watch him versus Angeli. But if he wasn't there, I would definitely say Angeli should be the starter. So I'm going to just hitch myself to Angeli because there's no injury element here. Again, I don't see him in practice. So it's hard for me to say. I know it's very Pontius Pilate of me there washing my hands of this, but, hey, it is what it is. All right, we're going to end with old school stuff. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Volume 123, Season 5, Episode 4 of the Fighting Irish Faithful Show. Thank you so much, and good night. This is more of a defensive type track, right? This always plays in Notre Dame Stadium when the defense is out there.